Well, let's just right after. We're going to call the meeting to order now at 7:06. And Trustee Weinstein, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Item on the agenda is the readout of closed session. She's not here. Let me do it, Jen. Oh, here.
Who's this?
This is your name. You do it. You do it. Reference.
Thank you. Recommendation appointment of Alejandro Thomas, Interim Director of Student Activities and Campus Life, Berkeley City College, effective September the 26th, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 at an annual salary of $100,483. 7 ayes, 0 noes, 0 abstentions, 0 absent. Thank you, Madam President.
And if Alejandro Tomas is available, could you please stand up and be recognized? Nope.
Working.
Okay.
19.
So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. It's been moved in second. I'd like to make one modification, that we move the students' presentation up forward, if we have all of our students here.
Agreed. Good with necessary corrections. That's fine.
With that one modification, what was it, 1, 2, 3, wait a minute. Can we, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Roll call in just a minute when Trustee Handy gets up to the dais. We'll do the approval of the minutes while Trustee Handy is getting to the dais. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second. Seconded.
It's been moved and second. Any comments, discussion? All right, so we'll, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, can you do the roll call?
Student Trustee Galan is not present. Student Trustee Jordan?
Yes,
Present.
present.
Trustee Weinstein? Trustee Handy? Trustee Withrow?
Here.
Trustee Bonilla?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez UN? Trustee Riley?
Yes.
And Trustee Brown.
Here.
Thank you, all present.
The next item on the agenda is the Associated Student Government Reports. Do we have the students or student government reports?
Hello, good evening, trustees. I am Daxbot, representing ASLC. So just a few updates. One, we ordered brand new water fountains for the student center. I think we ordered like 3, 2 for the second floor of the main entry and then 1 for the third floor. We signed our contract with J&J Vending, so this year we'll actually be getting a little bit more revenue. We're working with League of Women Voters to register as many students as we can this year. I know there's like an election coming up and it's a big year. So we're trying to register as many students as we can while also educating them about the benefits of voting and, you know, their rights and whatnot. ASLC just hired our first janitor just to support exclusively the student center. So we're really excited about that. Last but not least, we started a committee, the Student Center Repair and Update Committee, and they're working on a full evaluation of what needs to be done, updates, repairs, and yeah, stuff like that for the Student Center. So.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Chancellor, Peralta family, and community members. My name is Andrew Gamara, and I serve as the 2018-2019 Vice President of Associated Students at Merritt College. So here's what's been happening in Merritt. ASMC hosted our Fall 2018 Club Rush on Thursday, September 20th, and over 10 clubs participated in the Club Rush. We had music, games, and food, and this year's theme was the NFL and College Football Day, and the students and staff wore their favorite team gear. Club Rush is to invite and encourage and recruit new members to participate with various clubs on campus, and our goal is to have 20 clubs on campus. Excuse me. ASMC is working to recruit new members on our council, and we currently have a full executive board and 7 senators. ASMC is working with Merritt's Bookstore to develop a book voucher program to help loan and/or purchase books for students. And we're also partnering with SOUL, our Sustaining Oakland Urban Lives, which is Merritt's food bank. And our next date to serve food is Thursday, September 27th in D144 at noon. All are welcome to come see our food bank and support the students and those in our community. Merritt thanks you for the opportunity, and we look forward to sharing what's happening on the Hill at the next board meeting. For the students of Merritt College, I'm Andrew Gamara, Vice President of 2018-2019 ASMC Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Board President Brown, members of the board, Chancellor Laguerre, and guests. My name is Charlene Rojas, ASCOA Treasurer. I am here to provide an update on ASCOA activities. Recently, the board appointed 3 new senators to vacant positions, and we are continuing to interview more candidates to fill the rest of the positions. For October, we are planning to do our Club Rush and a study jam to provide free evening tutoring sessions to help students with their midterm exams. And for November, we're planning a Friendsgiving luncheon to celebrate Thanksgiving. Myself and another senator will be attending the Seesaw Student Leadership Conference, which will take place in Los Angeles this coming October. And lastly, we are planning to send 2 student representatives to the SSCCC Fall General Assembly, which will take place in Ontario this coming October. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board, and good evening, guests. My name is Arslan Gahari, and today I'm not representing a student government, but I'm here to report on my Kaiser Permanente internship that I had this summer on behalf of Peralta's Corporation. If it wasn't for you guys, I would not have been there. And I know because they rejected me the first time.
If I may introduce, I was invited to attend the lunch of the KEPI lunch graduation, and I knew that we had several students. We fought hard for Kaiser to include us, and we were very happy that we had students. But little did we know that we had a star there. I'm sure that we had many other stars, but this young man was chosen to be the speaker to represent the community colleges. And I'm telling you, he made us so proud. So I felt that it was one of those successful stories, one of those heroic moments in the community college that we often overlook, we often don't hear of, and thought that everybody would be so pleased to meet him and to hear his story. And I'm sure after building him up, he's not going to disappoint. So I present to you our KEPI lunch intern.
Okay. Thank you, Chancellor Laguerre. I've never been described as heroic before. It feels kind of weird, but thank you. I couldn't have done it with anybody without all the support that's been around me. When I first entered school in the summer of 2016, after I graduated high school, I didn't really know what options were ahead of me. By chance, I went with my friend along to Berkeley City College, where he was planning to apply, and I was just hanging out. I didn't even want to take summer classes, but there I was. I was wrangled into an office by a former counselor that's no longer there anymore. She retired, Miss Allie. And she put me into the Emoji program. And the Emoji program was the first learning cohort I was part of and the first learning community that I was part of at Berkeley City College. And they really fostered my growth to this point in day. I'm also an EOPS student, so I got my books paid for through EOPS because I would not have been able to afford them without it. I'm also the president of the Berkeley City College Business Club, and I'm also a student ambassador at Berkeley City College. And in my first year, I was a student senator for special populations at Berkeley City College. And I would not have been able to do any of that without the support communities at Berkeley. So thank you for that, and thank you for your support of those support communities. How I got to Kaiser was they came to Umoja to one of our meetings, and they said that they were looking to recruit individuals that wanted to have degrees, or not degrees, but have experience within Kaiser structure. Now, most of you think, I'm a business major. Most of the people think that Kaiser is just a healthcare company, but it's actually very vast. It's the 5th largest construction company in the United States. So that's just like a testament to how varied they are. $65 billion in assets, and it was wild, I tell you. First we started 8 weeks here. They wanted to professionally develop us before we entered their premises. They wanted to make sure we were ready. So we spent 8 very cold mornings at Laney College. one of the rooms in there got broken heater or something in there, but it was nice. It was nice. The projector was working at least, so we had some good presentations. But they've developed us for 8 weeks every Friday morning. After that, we began our internship. I started pretty nervous. I didn't think I was gonna stand out. I mean, I was one of 8 of the Peralta kids that got to go out of 72 total. And I'm talking my colleagues came from Stanford, Cal Berkeley, so I was with the big boys. But I thrived. I thrived. And why? Because they gave me responsibility right off the bat. I worked with my boss in the Fremont Support Services sector of the Fremont Hospital in Kaiser Fremont. So she oversees 250 support service staffs that are non-medical, so anyone from engineers, operators, EVS services, and everyone in between that makes the hospital run. I got to learn so much. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to dream of half the things I was able to do. We organized the budget. We had to cut 4% from our budgets because flu season made a big impact on the spending of the hospital for that year. So we had to cut 4%. I was the one in charge of making the Excel spreadsheets for the department managers. I didn't even know how to use Excel before that day. We had to work with the engineers and develop a business plan, or not a business plan, but a support plan to cut water usage from our campus because we use a lot for the lawns as well. So we were working with the environment as well. We even interviewed staff. I got to interview staff for potential hiring positions, and we actually made a hiring call with our supervisor, which is crazy. I know what an FTE is. You know what FTE? I know you guys know what an FTE is. But yeah, the opportunity was amazing. I loved everything about it. And I've entered this semester with like a new spring in my step. And like a confidence going forward. I'm doing my applications now. And I'm looking at schools I would have never looked at before. And none of it would have been possible without you guys' help and your guys' support. But I was one of 8. There was 30 of us total in that class. So if anything from this meeting today, please work just as hard as you have been and go even more to get more of these opportunities for our students. Because it changed my life. It really did. And each one of you played a part in that. And I'll forever be grateful. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we can all go home now. That's it. Can't top that. Oh, wait, nope, wait, one more. We are student presentation for the Congressional Black Caucus, then we can go home.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Herbert Kitchen, and I had the pleasure of serving as the chaperone for the 2018 Peralta College's delegation to the Congressional Black Caucus. This was my third year going, and of the 3 years, each year gets better. And it gets better because of these people who are behind me. Let's give them a round of applause. Without our students, it would not be possible for us to go on such an excursion. Without the support of the Peralta colleges, the district, the colleges, the community, these trips would not be possible. At Merritt College, we have a phrase, and it goes, "We change lives." And going on such a trip, it changes the lives of our students. So tonight, if you would bear with us for a few minutes, our students would like to share a presentation for you from beginning to end of their trip to Washington, the people that they met, the experiences that they had. They will share those with you through this presentation. And I would like for each of the students to come up before we have the presentation to say who they are and which college that they come from. And everyone should have our flyer. This is the brochure that all of our students had that they gave out when we went to Congress, when we went to Barbara Lee's office, when we went to the Black Museum, when we went around DC. Each student had brochures and each student had business cards because it's all about networking. And that's what our students did on this trip. So with that, I would like for each student just to come up and say their name and which college that they're from, and then you'll see their video.
Good evening, Peralta Board, Chancellor, and the rest of the members and the guests. My name is Clemence Turvalon, and I am from College of Alameda. And I do want to share that, and I can attest that what Dr. Kitchen said about a life-changing event. I've done a lot of traveling. I've been around the world 3 times. But there is nothing like what I experienced down in Washington. I came back different. I came back more energetic, and I'm ready to tackle, I think, about just anything that comes my way after coming from there. So I want to thank everyone, and I'm looking forward to next year. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Montel Floyd. I'm from Merritt College. This is my second time going to the CBC, and I really appreciate it. This time I learned out that I picked a new career path. Eventually, I want to work with educational policy. So this trip really put that in hard for me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Katori Goodman, and I'm from Berkeley City College. And I'm really excited that I got to go on this trip, and it was such an important thing for me as well as my family. Going on this trip meant so much to everyone that I talked to about it because it was just something that no one could fathom someone like me or someone like from my community doing. And every person in my family that I talked to about it, they were so happy for me and so amazed that I could even get this opportunity because for a lot of them, they couldn't even see past where they're from, you know. So thank you so much for allowing me to go. Thank you.
Good evening again, everybody. I'm Andrew Gamara, and again, I want to say thank you also. I'm a student with a colorful past. I'm not going to get into it, but it's long, and 2 years ago, I would have never seen myself here speaking to you guys, or definitely not on a plane going to D.C. and being in a room full of people who overwhelm you and who you think that you have no business being in the same room, and to be granted that opportunity and made feel like I'm a part of it as well. And Merritt College has, from the beginning, changed my life and continues to do so. So I want to thank you guys again. Thank everybody that went with me, Dr. Kitchen, Dr. Burns, Trustee Handy. I mean, it was amazing. So thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Good evening to the Chancellor and Trustees. My name is Michelle Jeter, and I am from Merritt College. I love my college. I love my college. Going on this trip was different for me. A lot of them know now that they didn't know before we went. I am a former foster child, and being a former foster child and getting in trouble and doing stuff that I had no business doing, going on this trip to see what I can be and to show people that I went to school with and that I was in a group home with, girl, look, I'm with so-and-so. I was in the room with so-and-so. I did it. I can be somebody, you know, and to go there is an enlightening experience. It's really to show you there is something outside of Oakland and San Francisco. There is something much better. You can be making laws that people got to abide by, not me just saying sit down, but they got to sit down, you know. So it was a very, very good experience, and I think everyone should get a chance to do it because going to the African American Museum really, really touched my soul. To go from the bottom where you see little shackles all the way to President Obama, and then to find out, you know, where your family is from, those are things that we can't even fathom. We see movies, but we can touch it and we can look at it and we can read about it, and it's real life. So it was really, really, really touching. I want to say thank you to Dr. Kitchen because, Lord have mercy, I put him through it before we went. And to Trustee Handy, I know I gave you all of the, you know what, but I love you. I love you so much because she holds to what she means and she means what she say. And by the end of it, I was taking pictures of them sleep on the way back because we were so tired. If you ever go to D.C., they got good food. Jesus! But once again, thank you guys. And I cooked. Yeah, we ain't got dollars to spend at here at Peralta. I cooked taco night. Everybody had tacos. I cooked hamburger night. We all had hamburgers. So we had a nice bonding time together to know all of the schools and everything each school is going through and how we can support each other also. So once again, thank you, President Burns. Thank you, Trustee Handy. And definitely thank you to Dr. Kitchen and everybody I went with. Love y'all.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dewell Stanley. I'm a student at Berkeley City College, and I really enjoyed this experience that I had because I come from a family that is not a lot of people as successful, but seeing all these African Americans that are successful gives me a bright outlook on life, and it shows me that I can be successful and that all other African Americans can be successful too. I thank you truly for everything, Trustee Handy and Dr. Kitchen. Thank you. Yeah.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Chancellor. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Richie Garcia. And before I get to a little bit about me, I just want to, I haven't told you, but I want to thank Kelly Lynch McMahon, my professor of construction management. 2 years ago, she assigned me a project about sustainable green building, which actually segued me into a lot of independent research regarding social justice, environmental justice, which made me change my major to political science. So, thank you very much. And yeah, so because of that, you know, I'm on this path, and I just want to thank you guys so much for, you know, trusting me to represent Laney College in the Peralta District. And yeah, without further ado, I know we took a lot of time. We're gonna start our little slideshow.
My turn.
Sorry.
Sorry, it's okay.
Sorry.
We all love each other. My name is Aisha Jordan. I go to Laney College, and thank you, President Tamil, for everything that you do for us at Laney, and also Trustee Handy and all of the trustees for your hard work, and to our chancellor, who does an awesome job. I'm really excited to present with my fellow brothers and sisters from Peralta. Usually you hear, oh, this school, that school. But when we were out there, we were just all Peralta students. And when we're here, we're going to all be Peralta students. This is really dear to my heart, the Congressional Black Caucus 48th Annual Conference, because my major is African American Studies and Political Science. And if you're not African American or a Black person or Pan-African and you're a different race, I encourage you to go and see the information, the wealth of knowledge, the patriotism that my people have given to our country from the beginning before this country even began. And A lot of people don't know of the things that we have done. We come from royalty, and it is in our DNA. And it's okay to be proud of your culture and who you are and what you give to your nation, right? So this is just like so awesome, everything that we got to experience and see. And this is a very historical time right now that we're living in, this election that's coming up. Number 45 in office, right? All these different things that are going on in our country, and we're at the forefront in DC where everything is happening. So thank you so much for taking students for years, Trustee Handy. I appreciate it so, so much, and I'm gonna stop talking right now. And I love Laney, and I love all the schools, but Richie and I put this together, and Richie, if you could take over.
With a little help from everybody else too, of course.
These are all of the beautiful models and.
Listen, it better not be a bad picture.
Oh, you know, you got all the diva pictures in here.
It don't matter.
So the theme of the Congressional Black Caucus's 48th Annual Legislative Conference was "The Dream Still Demands." Let me see. So,
Peralta.
So our Peralta delegation, including our chaperones, we already introduced ourselves, but there you go. So this is our first day, our first group photo, but that's just right here, DC bound. This is where it starts. So sorry. So it was I don't know, it was a long day for me, but I was so anxious to get to the BART station at 6 o'clock, and I was really nervous. I only met a few of these students, maybe two other times, and so I felt a little bit alone, but thankfully I had my fellow student here, Aisha. She goes to Laney College with me, and yeah, we all made it relatively on time. But we were still early enough to make our flight.
And so that's still us at the airport, getting ready to go. And that is us getting ready to leave to go to the hotel. This is our first day in Washington, D.C. And we get to go to the historical Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. And this is all of us at the beginning of our tour of the History and Culture Museum. And we added some collages.
We were running on very little sleep at that time because we after we got off the red-eye flight, we went straight to the museum.
Oh, and all of these photos are actual artifacts that are in the museum from points in time. So we go down a historical path of African Americans in our country and what we have endured and what we have triumphed over. And we see different things about Brother Malcolm and about Brother Martin and what they did. And also Colin Powell. Take it away, Richie.
So I'm a Marine Corps veteran. Oh, and Clemas didn't mention, but he's retired Navy. Let's give him a hand for that. But it was very awesome, and this exhibit really touched me the most because my father and my grandfather were both in the military, and and what people don't know that even today that there's still a lot of prejudice and what is acceptable in the jargon that the military uses, and people of color can get really uncomfortable at times, which is why I didn't re-enlist. But so I commend Kamas a lot. Good job.
Oh, and then going forward, I just wanted to show Queen Nzinga here on the left, and then Benjamin Banneker. As I stated earlier, we come from royalty and also geniuses, and he built a lot of Washington, D.C., Benjamin Banneker, and he was very innovative, and also the clock Big Ben is one of his pieces as well. Here we have a picture of the transatlantic slave trade. And I thought that it was very important to put a picture of what the transportation looked like. And this is a nice photo. It is not as graphic as when you look in it, of all the people who are laid on top of one another. This is the Maafa. Maafa is a Swahili term for terrible occurrence or great disaster. It refers to the Black Holocaust, when millions of Africans died during the journey of captivity from the west coast of Africa to the shores of America, known as the Middle Passage. And then this shows the domestic slave trade, and it shows the different states that are highlighted and the statistics and numbers of people who were referred to as chattel, meaning moving property, during that time. In the 1900s to 1970s, there was a great migration from the South. And that migration from the South were to the different cities that you see the black dots. So where we live right here on the West Coast, you see the Bay Area, San Francisco and Oakland, and also you see up north in Oregon and Washington area, and then also in Los Angeles. And so a lot of grandparents came from the South, of people who live or are natives of the Bay Area, like my grandparents. They migrated here in 1941 from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so it was very important, and also the overwhelming emotion that comes over you as you are looking. So we have here Mary Turner, who was a 20-year-old married woman who was 8 months pregnant, and she was lynched in 1918. A lot of people don't tell you that the reason why a lot of African Americans were moving, the ones who were not afraid, is because of these mass lynchings that were going on, and other heinous crimes. And on here, it says that her baby was cut from her stomach to see if the child was a mixed child. And her 19-year-old husband was also lynched alongside of her. And out of this information, Billie Holiday wrote the song Strange Fruit. Here we have Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells is a political pioneer. Ida B. Wells, quote, "The way to right wrongs is to turn the light upon truth, the light of truth on them." I'm sorry, I'm a little bit emotional. So I'm not gonna cry. So, sorry. The young lady that's here in the picture in 2018, she was lynched in Georgia. You see the picture to your right is a lynching party. Lynchings are still going on today, and we still have pioneers today who are trying to change policy like Montel wants to do and Michelle wants to do. Here we have James Baldwin, who, if you haven't heard of James Baldwin, you need to go to the library and check out a book about James Baldwin, something that he has written, or just look at a YouTube video of his conversations, and the things that he was saying in his time are the same things that we are still saying today. And he was a political activist in his own right. And all people of color during the 50s and 60s and 70s, and even up until now, not just Black people, have helped Black people with our plight of freedom and acceptance. Shirley Chisholm ran for president in 1972. That's just something that I personally remember because she's one of my heroes. And it was awesome to see everything in the museum about her. The museum is several floors tall that you can't see everything in one day. And our suggestion is that you start from the top and then go down, because at the bottom is the Maafa. And the first time that we went there, I cried for 2 hours. 2 hours, because of the atrocities that happened to Black people in America. Here we have President Obama and Michelle's dress and a collage of them that is at the museum. Here we have a picture of Richie with the Michael Jordan, with the Michael Jordan statue.
For the record,
And then myself with Serena and Venus Williams, and they are, well, Serena is like the best tennis player in the world, but okay. moving right along. Richie, you want to take over?
Yeah. So I used to box amateur as a child for 7 years, and I actually momentarily dropped out of high school to turn pro, but then I was convinced to go back to school, which was a good thing. And you know, I just remember reading a lot about you know, Muhammad Ali's battles when it came to you know, the draft and his voice against the Vietnam War, and you know, looking at this exhibit and actually learning more about different fighters and, you know, the whole scenario, the Great White Hype and all that stuff, that it happened multiple times over, you know, the decades. And it was just, it was very warming to see for me personally, because, you know, I found myself in those situations too, hearing, you know, racial slurs from the opposite corner, and, you know, depending on where they were from, but
So at the end of our tour, we were able to, they have a floor where you can go and you can track your ancestry. And this was like the best. They show you how you sign up on different sites like Ancestry.com and other sites to track your ancestry. And so for a lot of African Americans, this is super awesome because we don't know where exactly our family lineage is from. So the lady told me to look up my last, like the farthest person I could think of if I know their birthday or birth city. And I was able to trace back through my grandmother's lineage, through her father, all the way to 1782 in Louisiana. And what their life was like through the census, their occupation, where they lived, what they did, their level of education, just all types of stuff. My great aunt, she attended Southern University, and she used to tell stories about her working at the chicken coop, and they had her listed as a 19-year-old working at the chicken coop. And they also had my great uncle, Dr. Emmett W. Bashful, who's Chancellor Merce of SUNO, listed as well. And so it just did something for me that I cannot explain.
for myself in particular, my parents haven't really told me which part of Mexico we were from. And as I tracked this back, we were actually from Texas, pre-annexation Mexico. So.
Day 2, registration day and lobbyist visit. So here we are getting ready to leave. Everybody look dapper. You're gonna see me with coffee several times, right? Our handsome young scholars. And here we all are registering with Dr. Kitchen, handling business.
We had a lot of trouble. They had to reprint all of our name tags. They said we were from Oakland and Berkeley, Connecticut, I think.
There is no Oakland, Connecticut. So here we have a lobbyist, Rick Spees, and you see Michelle, she got a photo with them. She asked some really good questions during our session with them, and they were explaining everything. Everybody did a really awesome job. But he was keeping us abreast on what's happening in Washington, D.C. between both political parties, because lobbyists represent different groups of people in Washington. And so a lot of us were learning about different opportunities that we may want to pursue in the future if we want to work on the Hill. So if you guys want to add anything, anybody want to add anything?
No. She rocks.
Yes. Yeah, Jane rocks.
So on our way back to the conference, that's just us trying to figure out which breakout session we wanted to go to. We all went to various ones. Myself and Andrew, we ended up heading to a, I believe it's on the next slide. Oh, no, it's not.
No.
Okay, well, Go ahead. Go your slides then.
So, okay, we had a lot of breakouts. So basically what we did as a team, we all looked at different sessions because they have different sessions going on at the same time. So we decided which ones we would want to go to, and then we would come back and debrief and give the information to one another so we could figure out how we were going to bring the information back to Peralta District to the students here at Peralta District. And so there was several ones about like Black Women's Roundtree, about the women in Congress, and different women's rights. And so this is the photo that you're seeing right now is the round table that was given by Essence Magazine. So what they did is they had a round table similar to the way that this room is set up, and every field imaginable was there with their expertise, not just nationally, but internationally. So it was very, very powerful. They called it a seat at the table. And literally, I was like in the front row, and we were having a seat at the table. Here you see our awesome Senator Kamala with Michelle. So we were just like so excited to meet all of the different people that were there. Here we have Stacey Abrams, who was one of the people who talked at the breakout session and talked with us as well. And then we also have Susan from Essence Magazine, who has been, Susan Taylor, who has been thriving with Essence for years and years and years. So we were really blessed to meet all of these awesome women. And there were so many that we couldn't choose everyone to put them in the slides. Here we have right now the Women's March. They were also there. And then we have the President, Sheila Jackson Lee, Congresswoman. And we are just really blessed to be with all of these brilliant minds. This was another part of the breakout session, which was the National Town Hall. And it was a really interesting talk about getting people to vote. What can you do? The lady in the red dress is an expert with millennials and how to activate young people and get them to understand why they should vote, because the conversation was like, okay, how is voting going to directly affect me, right? And so she was giving us tips on how we can break down to millennials and younger how voting will directly affect them and their children and their children's children, because we have to think about longevity and legacy. Here we have Trayvon Martin's mother in the white with the pearls. She was another guest panelist, and she spoke about what happened in the courtroom and police brutality and how she has become an activist since her son was murdered. On day 3, the National Town Hall, we just saw the National Town Hall, and the Emerging Leaders Luncheon is next. So here we have the emerging leaders, right here, Dewell and Montel, and all of the rest of us. And their guest speaker was Michael Eric Dyson. And so he's in the middle, and he gave all of us his new book. And we're holding his new book, and he was gracious enough to sign all of our books and take photos with us. And then also in the Emerging Leaders Luncheon, it was hundreds of young people from all over the country who were considered the emerging leaders. And so we were able to meet them and exchange ideas and what are you doing, where you live, and that sort of thing, that type of networking. And then here we have the whole group again with Trustee Handy. And then right here we have Adrian Abuya, yes. And he was gracious enough to be at the constituents' breakfast, which we will see shortly. And here is Senator Cory Booker with Michelle. And then we have Andrew, yes. And then we have Andrew and myself. And
that's me.
Yeah, and then I just added this in because this is a historical photo. And also you have Auntie Maxine here with Richard, and then you have Montel with Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who represents us, and myself with Cory Booker, yeah. And then, and then also this woman right here I believe her name is Kima, and she works for social justice and recidivism, and to also get the minimum mandatory sentences dropped. So she was accused of conspiracy to sell drugs, but she had never touched drugs, she had never seen any drugs, but because she was in a relationship with someone who had some drug activity, she was sentenced to 24 years. So that is one of the breakout sections that she was at, and Cory Booker and also Congresswoman Barbara Lee and Maxine Waters, they headed up this breakout session to bring to the forefront the things that are happening in the different communities, because there is a boom in the cannabis hemp industry for growing and having those type of businesses for medical healing and everything, but African Americans are being left out of actually being able to own those businesses all the time. Not all, but sometimes. And also the transporting, if you've ever had a felony before, then you cannot transport even though you have your licensing. So people are going to jail for those types of things. And so hopefully we can get her to come to Peralta and talk with us, since we have one of the leading resource groups at the Peralta District for formerly incarcerated and systems impacted students. ROC. So the fourth day is the constituents breakfast and visiting the Capitol.
That was a long walk.
Okay, you can take over.
All right.
That's Bishop Blake.
Yeah.
Clark, I mean.
So we were fortunate enough to be invited to the 13th District constituent breakfast. We got to meet a lot of people, CEOs of different companies, famous bishops like Bishop Clark, and we exchanged cards and network. Yeah. Okay. You want it back? Well, this is when we actually first got there. Those four, we were on time. Just want to let you know.
That's why you pulled up your style in a black truck.
Yeah, they did have a nicer Uber. But so more photos of the group, including Nancy Pelosi and what's that gentleman's name? I forgot his name.
Yes, Stewie, the Democratic whip.
Yeah, the Democratic
Whip Stewie.
Whip Stewie. Whip Stewie. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yep. And then also, we have the first Muslim American elected to Congress here. And so I wanted to get a picture with her, but I was not able to. And Dr. Kitchen got a picture with her, but we didn't get the picture from Dr. Kitchen. So we'll have to add it at a later date. Yes. And then I thought it was really cool that Rep. Barbara Lee posted us on her Instagram saying that we were there. And she thanked us, saying thanks to all the constituents who joined me for breakfast at Capitol Hill, that she was so honored to represent the East Bay. And I thought that she's just so down to earth and just awesome. And so this is our group right in front of her office, taking a photo.
She was in a session. We couldn't go in.
Yeah, with Adrian Abulian. And then here is Montel. And this, so when you're going to, in the Capitol,
It's a long walk.
It's a super long walk. But what's really cool is each state has their high school students' artwork on the side of the long walk. They call it the Green Mile. So Montel was walking by where our state's artwork was, and it looked so professional. You would have never known that those were high school students.
And they got a train. We
Go
have
ahead.
to walk.
So in the Capitol building, we were only able to see the old Senate, which is on in the center there, the old Congress, which is on the top right, and the old Supreme Court, which is on the left side there. They wouldn't let us take photos in the other rooms.
So, this is really special to me. The brick that I'm touching is part of the original White House before the fire at the White House. And a lot of people do not know that the architecture of the White House and the building of the White House was done by African Americans. They just say, oh, the slaves built it. But the architecture that is in the White House actually comes from like ancient Egypt. Like if you look at some of the architecture back then and you look now, you can see, and that's like granite stone and everything. So it was just really important that we had that. Everybody got a photo, but yeah. Okay, moving right along. Okay, and then this is all of us with Rosa Parks, and Rosa Parks is a statue that was presented by Congress. There aren't that many statues that are presented by Congress, so each state has 2 statues that represent them. And Rosa Parks is a newer statue, and that's why she is in the form that she is in instead of the counterparts on the side that are like porcelainish looking.
Yeah, she was officially commissioned by Congress, and all the other statues for the states, they're allowed to be swapped out, and they could change every 10 years, but Rosa is permanent.
Yes. And then, oh, here we have Katori, too, showing us her beautiful smile. Okay. And then...
The best picture of the slide.
Richie's such a ham. Okay.
Don't I look like I belong there?
On day 5 is the last day, the prayer breakfast. And so our district, they allowed us to go to the constituent breakfast and right, and the prayer breakfast and breakout sessions. And so we were on the go nonstop. At the same time, the networking skills that we learned from our different colleges and our jobs and everything really paid off because we were able to get some tickets to the Phoenix dinner, which is like ridiculously high. But
Only a few of us.
Yeah, but the people who are there, like, you know how people tell you, oh, well, we care and we want to help the youth or we want to help students, and they just say that. These people really meant that. And so if you ask someone, do you have a ticket to this, or I'm from this state, do you have a ticket to that? If they have an extra one, they'll give it to you.
I just want to point out how great Aisha and I look here. That was at the Phoenix Award dinner, red carpet. Oh, this is scrunched up.
Okay, I tried to fit everybody in. But, we have a vice mayor who is always on CNN, an economist, an accountant from Virginia Beach, Dr. Lola, and then at the bottom we have Clamas down here with the gentleman that were sitting at our table. I thought, well, the way that it is on here, it's not the same on the computer, so I apologize that it looks squished. And then that is me with Roland Martin, and then also with B, who works in San Francisco at City Hall. On day 6, we're heading home. Yes. Take it away.
We were exhausted. And actually, I just want to point out that they actually left me in the bathroom. And I thought they already went through, and I didn't have any of my luggage. But luckily, Duell saved my luggage, and he ended up texting me saying, hey, we're over in line at the security check. And I was like, okay, thank you.
Okay, so keep going, because we're just going home. Bye, Drew.
Well-deserved sleep. Well-desered sleep.
When did y'all take that?
And this is us returning home to Oakland, getting our luggage.
Y'all try to play up the kitchen.
So we want to say thank you to the Peralta Community College District, Office of the Chancellor, Office of the Vice Chancellor in Finance and Administration, our college presidents, our associated students, Trustee Linda Handy, Dr. Herbert Kitchen, Office of Congresswoman Barbara Lee and her staff, Peralta lobbyists, Richard Spees, and senators and representatives that make up the Congressional Black Caucus, and to everyone who made the trip a reality. And then also we have a lot of bringbacks that we're going to be working on for all students, not just African American students, but it is important that we all learn one another's history.
Thank you, guys.
How do I take it off the screen?
The next item on the agenda, thank you very much. That was an awesome report. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the classified Senate report.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Tracy. I'm the interim Peralta Classified Senate President. From the College of Alameda, they report, and I'm really excited about this, is they were able to fill each classified meeting of the fiscal year. Classified worked to establish goals to increase professional development opportunities for classified. And this will reflect training options during the upcoming flex days. And they also reviewed the purpose and the commitment of each individual appointed to those committees. As for Laney College, we look forward to, our Senate looks forward to holding our first classified Senate or classified professional development day on Flex Day, October 25th. This will be apart and separate from any other entity's Flex Day activities. This came at the request of the classified body on the Laney campus to the classified Senate at Laney College. We've also developed a procedure and process for making sure that our classified Senate are receiving report backs from all our appointees from each of the shared governance committees on our campus. Finally, I'm really very, very excited about this, and I wish that the person who was kind of instrumental in getting this thing going was up here with me. But our district classified Senate is on the rise. They are looking to revive themselves and to ensure a place along in the PCS. So classified both SEIU and confidential employees located at the District Service Center met today at 3 p.m. to discuss the revitalization of the District Classified Senate. Once the district senators are confirmed, they will move forward with updating their constitution and electing officers. District Classified Senate will host a professional development event which will be open to students and classified staff. The District Classified Senate will take an active role engaging with students to understand the realities of the student experience journey to better understand what impact the work we engage in has on our students. Being that classified staff are at the forefront of interaction with our PCCD students, we will use data and student surveys to assist with identifying the needs of our students within our various service areas, and we look forward to reporting our findings. Again, this is really exciting to me because we do consider the PCS as an aggregate of all campus classified senates. We consider the district as being a campus. While it is a service center and the 4 remaining campuses do host colleges, we do feel that they are very, very instrumental in the role that they play in the support of not only our 4 college campuses, but as well all the students in the Peralta Community College District. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the District Academic Senate report.
Good evening. My name is Donald Moore. I'm the District Academic Senate President, and we're in our week number 6, I believe, of our current semester, and faculty are knee-deep in starting with midterms and quizzes and papers that are due. And what's been really interesting and success, I think, has been the conversion to Canvas. I have 2 classes that I have on Canvas, and I know other people have classes on Canvas, and it's been wonderful to provide the level of assistance and training that you could have for it. And just shout out to all of the folks who've been involved with it. There's a 24-hour hotline you could call that goes to Utah, and you could get sorted out on your canvas as you're working at it, at midnight. And I think that type of support has been really important for the transition for our faculty into Canvas. And I think I really want to have a shout out for that, because it's something that needed to happen. And it happened in the time frame that we set for it, and I want to congratulate folks for making that possible. I also wanted to speak to that the District Academic Senate is fully supporting the full implementation of Peralta 1. We know that it's in a hiatus right now, and we are committed to seeing this through, because we really want to see the excitement that students have when they have a new passport or whatever, Peralta 1, when it gets there. That the fact that they'll have it mobile and just all of the different things that are going to come with this upgrade. And so while we know there's concerns over costs overruns, we feel very, very strongly that this is needed, and this needs to be done this year, or else we lose this opportunity. So the Academic Senate fully supports it. Finally, want to tell you that we are progressing on AB 705. Vice Chancellor Brown just had an all-district meeting today for the first time, where sorry, not the first time, where English and math and counseling and even ESL folks were there. And that was really, really great to see the movements. While we're all required to adhere to the new laws, putting it all in place in a year is very, very difficult because of the timelines that we have to meet. But the faculty have really, really engaged in the process, and they're moving forward. So I have all the confidence that this is going to work in terms of this transition. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that great report. So the next item on the agenda is public communication. So we have 3 cards for public communication. Richard Thuley. Well, actually, we have Richard twice and Jeff Cesare.
I'll start again. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Richard Thuley, SEIU Chapter President for the Peralta Colleges. Actually, before I start, I just want to point out, well, actually, I'll just go right ahead. All right, we've had several news agencies reach out to us for comments, specifically on the hiring practices at Peralta. At this time, we're working actively with HR and looking forward to working more with the college administration to ensure that there's a pathway to full-time positions with benefits for those who have had their so-called short-term, non-continuing jobs renewed time and time again. This is a priority for our union, whether it's in healthcare, our cities, counties, or in our colleges. There's no excuse for workers who have been at their jobs for up to 2 decades to be considered temporary, or for those workers who are fulfilling the responsibilities of full-time work to be considered short-term. This is my focus today, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
It's Jeff, right? Okay. Hello, trustees, chancellor, everybody that's here. I usually wear a hat, but the student actually showed me how bad of an example I was setting, so I had to take it off. And now you have to deal with what's going on up here. I just want to say a couple things. You know, I've heard a few times already from some of you up there on the dais that I've spoken to. But through most of last year, it kept dawning on me that no matter what was said during public comments, you can't respond. I know that this is often unfortunate for someone in your position to have access to information, and despite knowing of potential solutions, that by law you have to sit there and not say anything. It's got to be tough. And truthfully, I think it's tough for us on this side of the podium too. You know, oftentimes students, faculty, and staff come here in search of answers that are either we feel not forthcoming from the administration, or we come here because the information that we get at times can either be provably false or at the very least misleading. Over the last year and a half especially, a great number of faculty have spoken in front of this board, not to attack you personally, but to simply tell you things that aren't adding up and to ask for help. Part-time faculty, full-time faculty, our staff, and even students are asking questions, not to make you uncomfortable, well, not always, but because we care so much about our colleges and our students that we do research and we ask important questions, and we take this moment to appeal to you in hopes that somewhere along the line our voices are respected and that we can be a part of the positive change that Peralta students deserve. But it may be that doing that might occasionally require us to kind of like, you know, change lanes as far as what we're like, you know, required to do. It also means that we need to maintain open lines of communication and understand that our faculty are dedicated, they're passionate, and our students are resilient as heck. So maybe it means that even in our collective frustration on this side of the podium, you might at least have an understanding that it stems from being so dedicated to Peralta. We not only research the issues that continue to plague our district, but we also use that research to ask questions. Like, what does a Citizens Oversight Committee really mean if their actual oversight is either ignored or set aside in favor of a better, maybe more convenient answer? This is something you guys are going to be talking about and thinking about tonight. See, what about repairs and upgrades to our facilities that remain on a list, no doubt, of course, but serve as better fodder for conversation than for action? But I know you can't answer me right now. Chances are one of us will come back to the next board meeting and ask these questions all over again, and my hope is that this kind of, you know, question and the silence between us will come to an end soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further public comment? The next item on the agenda is the Chancellor's report.
Madam President, members of the board, and members of the public, I'd like to briefly address the last comment that you heard in terms of the conversations with the board. I have suggested in the past, and I'm going to suggest tonight, that we work together with the faculty and the staff to introduce a concept that I know really well, but I've tried to push here that has not gotten much attention, which is dinner with the board. And that's an opportunity for the faculty and the staff and the administration to be able to dialogue with the board. Several occasions I've suggested that, and I guess I had not pushed it hard enough. But I think that having conversation, exchange of views with the board would do a couple of things. One of them is to make sure that you have frank discussion, because just as facts are sometimes presented, there are often other facts that can clarify what it is. And I agree with Jeff, not being able to answer is frustrating, I think, for everyone. So I'm looking forward to, I've offered that to now District Academic Senate President Moore, perhaps we can work together to make that happen. Offer it to you, Mr. Tracy, for the staff. Perhaps we can make that happen, because I think you could have a healthier relationship when we do that. Doing it in a way that is mutually respectful, I think, can really lead to good progress. So looking forward to perhaps starting now, see if we can make that happen. I want to share with everyone that on the 18th of September of this year, the board recognized 27 of our programs for excellence, career technical education programs. We had a great number of faculty who came for the board work session, and we were very excited to be able to recognize the great work that our faculty are doing, which often is not recognized because we don't often pay enough attention to that or give them enough publicity. But I think that it was really clear that night that we have star programs that are not recognized by us, but by the state of California, that indeed these programs are very valuable and they change students' lives. And again, I want to thank Vice Chancellor Brown, along with Director Miriam Boy, for bringing the faculty together so that we could recognize them and, of course, recognize the great work that the faculty has done. You heard earlier from President Moore that One Peralta is something that is of great interest to the faculty, and it is also of great interest to the staff and to the administration. To that effect, we have had several conversations regarding One Peralta, including a couple of conference calls. I met yesterday with the cabinet and presented the challenge that we are facing. And as you know, we have decided to put One Peralta on hold temporarily. But I sense from the district that everybody is really coming together around this issue. And I think it is one where we have a collective commitment to get it done completely and well, and that resonates really well with everyone, to not just try to do it, but to do One Peralta completely once and for all. To that effect, the cabinet decided yesterday to be the leadership group to move the project forward. And with that, we do want to include faculty and classified staff to the mix to make sure that we have good representation to move the project forward. The cabinet will serve as a nucleus group for that project. And we want to make sure that it's not considered an IT project, because One Peralta is not an IT project. It happens to be that IT is providing some of the mechanisms to make it happen, but really all of us need to make it happen. Again, as I said, we'll add faculty and classified staff members to that mix. We also feel like adding a member of the board that will serve as a conduit to the board from that committee will be important. The members of the cabinet specifically asked for a trustee who is vocal about technology to be that person who will serve on that committee with us. And without naming name, it's just a piece of advice that we'd like to give to the president of the board, that you choose a board member who's been very vocal and concerned and wonders about technology. So we are serious. So we want to hear from our great supporters and critics alike. We want to have a user group from whom communications for the project will come. And that is really the people from the front line who are working day to day with that to really advise the leadership group. We want to work closely with shared governance for technology, the district Technology Committee, to make that happen. And we all agreed that the project had been resourced poorly. The project had been resourced very poorly. And we want to avoid that moving forward. Our commitment needs to surpass our fear of not having enough money to get the project done. Our commitment needs to surpass our fear of not having enough money to get the project done. I have a sense that this is the priority for the year for all of us, and we are inviting us all to be part of that. That concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you, Chancellor.
That would be very appropriate, Madam President.
Well, I think that we have a trustee that's been very committed, very passionate, and very vocal about IT. That would be Trustee Linda Handy. And I think that it is appropriate to nominate her.
I vote yes.
I'll second. I'll second that.
And I hear consensus from the group. I would say that this is a much more civil way to nominate her. The last time Trustee Bonilla and I nominated Trustee Handy for something, we did it when she wasn't looking. So I think this is much better.
Thank you for the heads up, at least this time.
The next item on the agenda is the Alameda County Food Bank presentation.
Okay. So good evening, trustees, cabinet members, and members of the public. So it's our pleasure that the college presidents are able to present to you the work that our colleges have been doing with, and the partnership with the Alameda County Food Bank to reimagine student success and really address issues of not only housing insecurity with some of our other partners, but food insecurity, something that our students always talk to us about when we ask them what are some major barriers to their student success. So as many of you know, we launched the partnership with Alameda Food Bank in 2017. I think Merritt College started in the spring, and then the rest of the colleges followed thereafter. So what's going to follow is what we've been up to on our campuses. So I'll start with the Berkeley City College Food Pantry. So in 2017, in the fall, our mental health counselor and wellness counselor, Janine Greer, began the coordination of our food pantry at the atrium level of Berkeley City College. And so we have food delivered every Monday between 11 and 1 p.m., and we provide fresh produce to between 150 to 300 students weekly. And I do have a video, very short video that students did that I want to show, but I want to move to the next slide so you can see that we are taking this issue a little bit further at the college by including it in terms of our service activity and our civic engagement work by offering professional development for our staff, faculty, and administrators. So here we have a photo of our student service areas and departments doing a volunteer day at the Alameda Food Bank. And not only did they tour the facility, but they gained more knowledge about the food insecurity needs in our county. So let me get to the video. Is this loud enough? Okay.
Janine Greer in the Wellness Center started the Berkeley City College Food Pantry, and she reached out to the Alameda County Food Bank, who's graciously donated us 3 to 4 pallets of fresh fruits and vegetables every week. The food pantry is founded around the idea that we do have hungry students here, students who either don't have time to make breakfast, don't have funds to afford breakfast or lunch, and these are important meals. It's kind of hard to hear yourself think and study over the sound of your own stomach growling. The student response has been overwhelmingly positive. Every week we've grown in numbers. The first week we were able to feed about 150 people. This week we were able to feed 250 people. And the first day was very chaotic. We did not know how much food was going to be delivered to us, and it turned out to be a lot, like 3 pallets the size of hot tubs. And we initially were going to have it at our wellness center, but we quickly found out that it was too much food and not enough foot traffic, so we had to move it over here to the main campus. And guess who got to move all the heavy stuff? Luckily, they make me big. One of my favorite parts of volunteering for the Berkeley City College Food Pantry is getting to work with the other volunteers, students, student ambassadors, and faculty who come down, throw on a pair of gloves, and help share food with the community. And that's what community college is all about. It's not just getting through on your own, it's being part of a community. And that's why I think the Berkeley City College Food Pantry is so important too, because we're sharing food as a community. It's not just Janine, it's not just myself, it's everybody coming together to make sure everyone who's hungry has food to eat.
Okay, I gotta do that. Okay, so thank you, that's for Berkeley City College. And I'm gonna put the PowerPoint back on, and we're moving to Laney College. Okay.
Good evening. So Laney College has 3 different support resources to support students, and you can see it there, who are experiencing food insecurity. So it's free for all students, and you can see we have fresh produce delivery, similar to what Dr. Tomaneg was talking about. We also have the Eagles Food Pantry that we opened, we've officially opened this fall. And then we also do coordinating with the Lake Merritt United Methodist Church to make sure that students know about those services on the off days that our pantry is not open. So our services are free to all students, and so far we've distributed over 10,000 pounds of food since fall of 2017. And we've provided resources to over 1,000 new students since that time frame as well. And Cal Fresh is on our campus 1 to 2 times a month to assist with enrollment. And you can see here, we just wanted to provide some quick student testimonies and some pictures of what we're doing. You see here, the Eagles Food Pantry has helped me to flourish at school. It gives me and my family the necessities we need. My daughter loves eating the food we get from here. It is a great resource for students in need, and thank you so much for your understanding, care, and concern. And these are pictures of different opportunities, both of the pantry, of our food giveaways, we barbecue on certain days, and also of just the free produce giveaways. So we're pleased to offer this support for our students and know it's so needed.
Right. Well, all right. Thank you, Laney College. Now it's College of Alameda. And you'll notice, of course, there's a lot of duplication of services that we've been doing at all 4 colleges. And so for COA, how we've branded our partnership is a free produce market. So we don't call it on campus a food bank or something like that. And so it's on Tuesdays. Today was our first one of this academic year. It's the second and the fourth Tuesday of each month at 12:30, so right at lunchtime. We usually have between 150 to 200 folks who come by and partake in all the free produce that we have. It's open to all of our students, of course, for free, and it's also open to the community. So we've reached out to community partners that are on the west, mostly on the west end of the island, like the Alameda Point Collaborative, who is transitional housing for folks, mostly homeless. So we asked them to come over and also partake in the free food that we have to give out because we want everything to go. There's no reason for us not to have anything to go back to the food bank. It's actually more work, so it's best if we can give every potato away and every apple, whatever shows up that month away. And people do come up and line up. We do it outside of our student center in our quad. It's been quite successful. And as you'll see, we've also augmented it. Each college has received a very small amount of hunger-free campus funds. And what we do with those funds typically is buy non-produce items, so sometimes like nut butters and things that are actually perishable, but people can take them home and they're healthy, and they can just get some bread and some butter and have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich like I have every day, so it's very healthy. And so it's been a wonderful activity at the college, and we're really trying to broaden that because, of course, the first just bullet up there is a general problem we have in our county and our society about food insecurity that our students and our society faces. So that's one of the challenges we meet at community colleges is we are community colleges and we serve our communities. So this is one way we do it at Alameda and all 4 campuses.
Good evening. And so at Merit, as was stated, we started in the spring of 2017. We've been very fortunate that the staff assistant, Brendan Christian, and in the Office of the President, who is also a Merit alum, has taken over this job and has done a yeoman's job and working this and coordinating this and collaborating with folks across the campus. So he decided this last semester to call it Merit Soul, Sustaining Oakland Urban Lives. And so we also have a little bit that we want to show you, but I'm going to go to the numbers first. So since March of 2017 to now, we've distributed a total number of 75,571 pounds of food. We have served 3,564 households, 4,436 children, 5,803 adults, and 1,646 senior citizens. Now, how do I go backwards? Because I don't have a thingy. Backspace, no. Oh, arrows would help.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so now let's click on this guy. So we have a web page under Student Services tab for our food bank. And as you can see, this was last week. The food bank comes to Merit twice a month. And the neat thing about our food bank is that we're also, if I could scroll this up, we're also developing a cookbook. And as you can see here with the little cups in that, we also have food tasting. So what we do is we feature a recipe every 2 weeks. We put it in little cups, and that recipe was this dish here, which was like a zucchini vegetable kind of a dish. And we fix it, cook it, and then we have these little cups so people can taste it. We give them a copy of the recipe. And this is in collaboration with our nutrition and our dietetic program. So we have students each semester, and this is our student now right here, that's working with, her name is Shamita Gupta, and she has a background in clinical dietetics from India, where she worked as a dietitian for 4 years, and she's working towards her AS in dietetic technology at Merit. So she's working with this guy, Brandon Christian, to make sure that our community has food at least twice a month. So here's our cookbook. We're asking for recipes, and we're trying to build this up, and then we're going to give it to folks. Once we get enough of them, we're going to give it out so they know how to prepare the food that they're eating. And then our Vice President of Student Services is now in the process of developing our pantry, which will have diapers and toiletries and some canned foods, and also a Merit Boutique. It's a clothes closet, but we don't want to call it a clothes closet, but it'll be the Merit Boutique. So this is how we're serving the students who have food deficiencies insecurities at Merit College. Thank you.
So, oops. So in conclusion, first I want to say that in putting together these types of presentations with my colleagues, it's always so great because we learn so much from each other. And so I'm really excited about what's happening at Merit, even with the cookbook, and I want to copy. I want to copy that idea. So I think we also wanted to let all of you know that it just doesn't, the work that we're doing for our students in our communities is not just stopping with Peralta and our district, but all of our colleges are engaged in a new initiative that has been started by our CEO group for California community colleges, Real Solutions, Real Challenges, and it is an affordability, food and housing access task force. And we're fortunate to have Dr. Gilkerson as a member of the task force, and I have recently joined the CEO board, and I know that this topic is a #1 priority as well for the CEO board. So more information to come in terms of this statewide initiative serving our students and our communities.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service to the community, to your students, to the Peralta community. That's just great. Our Fab Four. So the next item on our agenda is the Clery Act presentation.
Okay. Good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of Trustees, Chancellor, President, and the audience. This evening, I'm going to share some light on the annual security report. I'm going to be talking about the Clery Act itself, and I'm going to be joined out here by Sanjay Rene from Peralta Police Services. As you, many of you are aware, there's a federal law that all community colleges, all higher ed colleges need to be able to report the statistical crime on an annual basis. This was named after Jenny Clery, who back in the 1990s was harassed, was raped, and lost her life. And there were no issues that there was no plan on what colleges in there to do before that time to be able to address the issues of crime on the campuses. Thank you. So since then, any institution that is receiving financial aid is required to file the annual statistical report by October 1st of every year. So this year we have done preparation of that report. What you see this evening is just a synopsis of the 158 pages of the actual report that will be sent to students or be sent to students right now. About 10 copies will be available to each college, hard copies to be placed in the financial aid student center and other places where students will normally congregate. Now, so the stacks that we talk about here are different from the statistics that the police department will normally report for state under the state code. In other words, there are crimes that are defined specifically under the Clery Act to report incidents that happens within the colleges. And also, there is what you call Clery geographic boundaries, meaning that all crimes that happens within the periphery of the college itself, within the community, need to also be reported. And this is part of the federal law. Now, when the district human resource department hires employees for the first time, they need to be able to make this information available to them so that they know what the crime statistics are. Now, there is the annual security report offenses, the hate crime, the violence against women's acts. So these are some of the areas that we cover in the report itself. Now there are some stacks here, some stacks that has to do with violence against women. You cannot be able to see most of what is here in color, but what this one is saying essentially is that in the United States, there's quite a bit of staggering statistics of that has to do with violence against women. The first one here shows that 1 in 4 women get killed through domestic violence. And then in the United States also, for the figures that is on the right, there's about 1.3 million since 2009, 1.3 million crimes that has been reported. And the list goes on. And then 1 in 6 of every female has experienced one kind of domestic or sexual violence at one time or the other. Some of the data that is showing under VAWA. So this VAWA itself was a law that was passed since 1994, that also has several modifications. The latest was in 2013, that was made stronger in terms of programs that we help to be able to invigorate the programs for violence against women. And then we're looking at what constitutes emergency. There are different kinds of emergencies that has to do with life safety and property in the environment. There are various board policies that has been enacted to be able to help with reporting of crimes and how the administrative procedures for implementing those board policies. You may recall that we had an audit with the State Department of Finance. And these are the areas where we already had some board policies that were in the books, but they wanted these policies to be reflected in the ASR that is now circulated to the district. So these are some of the board policies. Now, we want to take a look at drug, alcohol abuse. There are various type of definitions under the Clery Act of what constitutes sexual assault. The latest ones were incest. In other words, how can students be able to report incest to a dean in a campus? Sometimes they may not want to go to the police. And then you have aggravated rape, and various kinds of new definitions. Those new definitions are reflected in its crime stacks that the Peralta Police is going to report shortly. We also have a district emergency notification plan. You may be aware that we have 2 members of the governing board of trustees here that has been working through the summer up till now to be able to help shape the emergency notification plan or the emergency plan in Peralta as a whole. So we have several listening sessions that are going on from one college to the other. We've done Mary College and Laney College. The attendance was modest. Now we're going to be going this Friday to Berkeley City College, and then before we go back to College of Alameda. And essentially, we're asking the colleges and the stakeholders to tell us exactly what they feel in their campuses, what type of security needs do they want, and they see, and we are observing that this differ from one college to the other. Why there's a general norm in terms of crime and prevention of crimes across the board, there are some things that are unique to colleges. For instance, at Laney College, there are issues relating to restrooms being vandalized by transient population. And then in Mary College, there's the fear of maybe Mount a lion. And so every college have their own unique situations. So this is the information about all the emergency notifications for all the colleges and whom they need to call. The names here, we're trying to use the position for and the name for various offices, but those positions sometimes might change more quicker, so we prefer to be using the title for positions to determine who we need to contact at every location. So at this point, I want to call on Sergeant Renee of the Peralta Police Services to give us a quick synopsis of the statistical crime. Sergeant Renee, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sadiq. Good evening. How's everyone? Thanks for having me. Can everyone hear me? I know it was hard to hear in the back, so you're good? All right. So I was asked today to talk about the statistics of the crimes and how we get those numbers. As the doctor said, a lot of the reports generated do not fall under the Clery Act. There's vandalism, there's trespassing, things, medical assist, 5150s, things that do not fall in the Clery Act, so those do not get reported. At the beginning of 2018, I fax and I email representatives of Oakland Police Department, Alameda Police Department, and Berkeley Police Department to get every report generated in the year 2017. In combination with ours, I contact our dispatch and get all the reports generated from us. As you know, Peralta Police Services is not a 24-hour security. Our hours on duty are 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So it's not 24 hours. So that's why we have to generate, we have to ask and request all the reports generated from the outside agencies such as OPD, Alameda, and Berkeley City College. One thing that was disturbing, Dr. Carr and I were talking about was Berkeley PD and Berkeley City College. The numbers were not corresponding correctly. So that's something we're gonna have to look into. So I just want to go over some of the stats. So Berkeley City College, again, I don't want to talk about that right now until we do some further inquiry. College of Alameda, there were 2 incidents reported where a male student touched a female student inappropriately. One was reported on campus, the other was reported off campus. In both incidents, the students knew each other and the suspect was contacted. There was, again, this is at College of Alameda, there was 1 robbery, property taken through force or fear was reported. There was 1 report of theft. It should be noted this was a single incident, which was down from 6 thefts in 2015. Laney College, there were 2 robberies reported. Again, property taken through force or fear. This number is down from years past. However, it's consistent within the past 3 years. There were 2 assaults reported, physical attack on another. This report is drastically reduced from 8 in 2017. There were 9 burglaries reported. Most of the burglaries are occurring over the weekend when, again, Peralta Police Services is only Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday at Laney College will fall under Oakland Police Department. Those burglaries occurred over the weekend. This number is consistent within the last 3 years. There were 16 larceny thefts reported. This number is up from previous years. However, the number is up all over the Bay Area due to the snatch and grab thefts. These are your people in the student center, people running by, grabbing laptops, cell phones off of tables and running. That's what we call snatch and grab thefts. Such thefts, again, phones, laptops, backpacks, etc. This seems, again, it's a crime trend that's happening all throughout the city, not just at Laney College. Merritt College, there were 3 assaults reported, physical attack on another, which is consistent with past years. Reported, which is the first domestic violence report on the campus in several years. There was 1 burglary report taken, which occurred over the weekend. Again, Peralta Police Services is not on duty. Okay, as far as the city of Oakland goes, in the area of Laney, we were less than 2% of the city's crime rate. And we do not have any of the major crime problems that the outside of Laney does. We were 1% at Berkeley and 1% of Alameda's crime rate. Our larceny numbers are higher due to the snatch and grab phase. We want to address this. We, again, talked to Dr. Sadiq about this, about putting on a situational awareness training for staff and students with the snatch and grab thefts being up and on the rise. Again, it's happening all throughout the city. It's happening on BART trains, BART stations. It's happening everywhere. So we just want to make people aware of their surroundings at all times. Not walk with their cell phones in their hands to their cars, walk alone at night. If we can get a buddy system going, which trustee and I talked about having a buddy system and walking each other to our cars at night. Stuff like that can help lower the crime rate and lower the victims on college campuses.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, for Berkeley City College, since we don't have the sheriff in that campus, there's 1 report of rape for Berkeley City College, 1 report of fondling, and 1 case of aggravated assault. Then we also have 1 incident of stalking. And those are the numbers for Berkeley City College. Now, what we are doing this year also, we have a memorandum of understanding with all the police departments, both Berkeley PD, OPD, and Alameda PD. And this memorandum of understanding essentially are stating that as part of state law, that each police in these cities have one of the primary responsibility to investigate and help to prosecute crimes that happens in our campuses. Usually they will come if invited by our police department during the work time, if there's a need to be able to do that. However, it is during the weekend or the hours between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. that they are working with us as part of that MOU. We also work with them in terms of mutual aid if there's any disaster, riot, protest for which we need their assistance. So that is one of the items that we're getting signatures from all the police chiefs from those 3 cities so that we have them for the record. Then the other question is, what is the district doing about all these crimes that we're talking about? So quickly, there is, on the report, there is a conclusion that we've drawn here to talk about the fact that the district has hired Peralta Police Services. There are about 9 of them, including the sergeant and lieutenant, and 7 deputies. And then we have ABC Security that are working at Lenny College during the graveyard shift, on weekends, and on holidays in the other 2 colleges. But at Berkeley City College, they are there every day from Mondays to Saturdays. Then we have the student safety aides, whom we equip with radio and some training. They help with basic things from first aid use, the use of defibrillators, and escort students and faculty to their vehicles if requested. Then we are training the colleges every year, beginning from this year, by the National Clery Act Center, so that we'll be able to know how to implement this under Title IX, and that no college should not, any college official who is designated to be able to work on Clery Act or Title IX will know exactly what to do. And then we also have students who can now shower in our restrooms, in our locker rooms that are homeless, and that is part of state law implementation. So there are various kind of things that we are doing. We're also developing an app that is going to come to the board by the next board meeting, and this app is 911. It will enable the student, faculty, anyone that is in Peralta to opt into that app and be able to have it on their speed dial on the cell phone, so that if one had situations for contacting a dispatch center, you just press that button and then the call will routed straight to our dispatch center. And there's relatively cheap to be able to implement that type of program when it is compared to the blue phones that we are equally installing right now. So there's blue phones that have been installed at Lenny College and Mary College, and the chancellor has also just approved us to do the implementation of College of Alameda, that we also have blue phones, both in the main campus at 860 Atlantic and also at the Airport Aviation School. So those are some of the security measures that the district is taking. There is a committee from the district that is working with faculty that are police officers, ex-police officers that are faculty in the college. So this committee are working with me and the chancellor with the intent of bringing a recommendation to the board in January to be able to see how we can improve on services using the resources that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Ikaro.
Yes.
Were we also going to hear from our college presidents?
Yes, President Tomanen?
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Yes, so just to add, as the board knows, Berkeley City College was one of 6 colleges that underwent a Clery Act reporting audit by the state. And so that audit was released in May of this year, and we had 11 recommendations and 2 partial recommendations. And I'm happy to report that by November, which is the second update that we have to give the state, we're going to fulfill all of the recommendations already. And so the recommendations had to do with being more diligent about our crime logs and incident reporting on campus, and then having more regular notifications. We have had some break-ins in the next door garage, and so we have more regular notifications to the campus community. We've also made more visible our escort services. ABC Security will offer escort outside the building, but we also have a partnership with Downtown Berkeley Association, whose ambassadors also offer escort. And then I also wanted to share that we have done much work around Title IX as well under the leadership of now Vice Chancellor of Student Services, Sifra. And so we are up to date in terms of our Title IX resources on our website. We offer Title IX and sexual assault training to our new employees in addition to student employees across the departments. And we are making more visible Title IX and sexual assault policies, especially around, natural times in the year when we're doing programming for Women's History Month, and then also recognizing violence against women, et cetera. So there's a lot of work happening, and we're meeting the recommendations for the audit.
On behalf of Laney College, I wanted to also share, and for the district-wide, to share a couple of things. So in November 2017, Laney College was selected by the Department of Education for a program review. We had less than a month, so they notified us November 4th, and they came to visit. November was a comprehensive program review where they audit all areas that, because we give federal financial aid out, all areas that impact sort of higher education laws. So that meant the financial. So we looked at distance education, our policies around that. It was very, very, so our team, and I have to give credit to Dr. Mildred Lewis and Dr. Joseph Karoma and Vice President Vicki Ferguson for helping sort of lead that effort. Out of the report, though, the site visit, we did get recommendations, and several of them are district-wide recommendations regarding the district's alcohol drug program, and the fact that we really had a lot of work to do on the required notifications to students and employees, as well as sort of policies to make sure that we are following through on them. So I wanted to commend the board to remind you all that you did approve updated board policies in July that we sent through in order to meet compliance, and then now are working district-wide to make sure that we are doing the notifications to students and our employees, and that we're actually evaluating our drug and alcohol prevention programs from a district-wide lens. The college did try to make an attempt to do it on our own to meet compliance. We've gotten the sign-off on sort of compliance, but saying that we need to be doing more as a district to make sure that we're doing our work. So we are moving forward in those efforts and have been sort of reaffirmed in the eyes of the Department of Education for now in terms of what we're doing. Second, I wanted to just point out that when we hired Vice President Ferguson, she comes with a strong background in Title IX and really has done an incredible job of moving the college forward as well. And she coordinated a district-wide training and had most of our athletic coaches and other folks there this summer, and it was open to district-wide folks on campus sexual assault and Title IX compliance this summer. And then finally, I wanted to share, again, I think that we've had a rash of, things happening on campus. We had an excellent listening session where we had a number of people there, including Trustee Jordan, former trustee Corey Hollis was there. A lot of faculty and staff were there to share concerns. Trustee Withrow was there to hear folks. So I thought it was very, very constructive, and that hopefully there'll be some excellent recommendations that come out from the colleges. But I did want to share one thing that we did at Laney is I did send out, let me just pull up. Oh, I think it got closed. While I'm talking, one of the things Vice President Derek Pinto has also been doing is working on safety in different ways around campus. One of the major issues that people have had for a long time is the fact that the lights at the crosswalks are pretty dangerous and needing better signage and things like that. So he has diligently been out timing the lights and worked with the city to get the lights changed and also to get some additional signage, and continues to be an advocate for us there at the college. So I think the team has been working as diligently as possible to try to help beef up our services. We also have our safety aides who are helping patrol in the evenings the parking lot in twos. And we're really, again, similar to what Dr. Tomanek talked about, just beefing up our security services. Hold on one second. Oop. I'm having safety. So, and then we wanted to show you that we sent this. Yeah, I'm ridiculous. Hold on. We did send a notification out to, with everything that was going on, I just felt like it was really important to send a message to our campus community and to our students. So this is like total just a quick thing that I did one morning. But we did email it out to all of our students and as well to our faculty and staff at the college. So let me just show this really quick. And I don't know if the volume is. Let's see. Well, we'll see if it works. Welcome to Laney College. I'm so pleased to welcome you to this vibrant campus community. One of our top priorities at Laney is to make sure that we create a safe and inclusive learning environment. And one of those ways we want to do that is making sure that you understand some of the safety and security efforts here on campus. In addition to regular Peralta Police Services that monitors campuses and our evening security service, we also have campus safety aides who are available throughout the semester to support you. These safety aides walk around with green vests on, and so you can stop and ask them a question if you should have anything. In addition, we offer escort services. It can be a one-time thing or something you set up for the entire semester. Feel free to call 510-599-9411 or send an email to laneysafetyaides@peralta.edu to schedule an escort. In addition to these safety and security services, we also want to partner with you on keeping our campus and you safe. A couple of tips I'd love to share with you is number one is making sure that you're aware of your surroundings as you're walking to and from campus. I'm around campus oftentimes and see many people dialed into the phone, looking down and plugged into earbuds. I know what you're watching or talking to is really important, but we really want to encourage you to be aware of your surroundings as you're traversing campus. Another tip is to consider making a new friend. Consider meeting somebody new in your class or connecting with one of your colleagues on campus to walk to and from campus together. Walking in groups is not only fun and an opportunity to connect with people, but another opportunity to keep you safe. If you're studying in one of our open areas, make sure to keep your backpack close to you. Or if you're leaving your office, make sure to shut and lock your door. These are just a couple of things that you can do to make sure that you're safe and your valuables are safe as well. If you're parking in one of our parking lots, we want to make sure to remind you to lock up and secure all your valuables. Even if you have dark tinted windows, remember there are lights that can be shined in to the car to see what's inside. So even that, take the extra precaution to secure your belongings. We want to make sure that you're always feeling safe and secure on campus. In addition to 911 for emergency services, please take a moment to take out that cell phone and go ahead and plug in the number for Peralta Police Services. In case of an emergency, you can call this dispatch center at any time. The number is 510-466-7236. For additional safety tips, feel free to visit the Laney College website to access more information about how to keep yourself and your belongings safe while you're on campus. Finally, I just want to thank you for being part of the Laney community. You're an important member, and we want to make sure that you have an incredible time while you're here on campus.
Good. Good.
Okay.
So is there any questions, Madam President?
We have the other two presidents that were going to say anything, or you guys, or did we catch you guys?
Was to have two presidents speak on the issue.
Thank you. Well, I want to first thank Trustees Weinstein and Withrow for the work you've been doing on the work group. Yes, for the work you are doing, and I believe that Trustee Withrow has a question.
Thank you very much for the rundown. obviously, security of our students, our faculty and staff is got to be a #1 priority. And I think the focus is there, but it's also complex. And just the Clery Act, which is an extremely important act, extremely important piece of legislation, an extremely important communication vehicle on what we should be doing, is 154 pages. Not that I'm counting, but it's a substantial document. And you mentioned that the app, which to me makes absolute sense, to memorize 7236, I think most people can do that, and they can plug that into their phone. But there were a lot of other telephone numbers in there for various elements and aspects of the Clery Act as it's related to Peralta and each of the colleges. And I would hope that this app would encompass all of those numbers under the conditions that are called for, and also give at least a brief rundown of what people should do, not just call, but what they should do or not do in the event of an emergency. There's a lot of things in there, for example, of a witness in the Clery Act of a witness of a criminal activity, and what their responsibility is, and what they should be doing, and who they should call, and things, but neither here nor there. Is the app that you're intending to put together going to be that kind of a information source?
No, the app that we're putting together is to be able to bypass the blue phones as a search way between individuals and the dispatch, because we believe that wherever you are in the campus or even on the freeway in the area, you are able to reach the dispatch center 911 quicker and get response quicker, as opposed to trying to walk or go to a phone while the danger is staring at you right in your face. So the way this is going to work is that there's going to be mapping of all the cities that we serve and the freeways between them, so that in the event that there was somebody that was in the trunk of a car, the police department, through the GPS, will be able to know that they're in a particular vehicle that is on 880 or 580 or 80, and be able to rescue such individuals. So it's meant to be able to get help, assistance right away. That is the intent of this app. But we are also going to look at other apps that might be able to be more educative that you described. But this one that we're going to be presenting to the board by the next board meeting for approval is to be able to serve as an emergency for the most part.
Well, one thing, if wouldn't be, and don't take me as being an IT guru here, but if we had a website or a portion of an existing website that had all of this information, can't that be programmed into a phone?
We're going to look into it, and it probably might be part of our mass notification information that we use during testing, so that the police department could be able to tell us, say, what is it that you need to do in event of an emergency? For instance, like not running away. Yeah, so that is going to be coming through the police department on our mass notification Blackboard Connect.
Okay, and so this Blackboard Connect.
Yes.
Is that retrievable on a phone, cell phone?
No, it's going to go into individual cell phone, wherever phone number that you provided to be communicated with you, you're going to be able to receive the information on such phones. And also, they'll be able to, for the new Code Blue phones that have been installed outside, they're going to have speakers in those phones that will go about 0.4 decibel in terms of sound, so they'll be able to announce out what you need to do in the event of, say, mass shooting, especially those students that are in outside classrooms in the field or parking lot, to be able to know exactly what to do.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Madam President.
Through the chair.
Sorry.
Trustee Weinstein, and then we have Trustee Bonilla.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Caro and Trustee Withrow. And I think, as many of you know, there are a number of committees that are working on safety and emergency preparedness. And there will be more information coming, I think, in at least October or a little later in terms of what other recommendations. Thank you to the presidents also for sharing that information. I do have a question. There was a article, I think it was in the Tower paper, the Laney paper, and it reported many more incidents than we are reporting in these statistics. So I'm wondering where that difference is.
The difference is in the California Penal Code. The Penal Code has more information relating to larceny, burglary, and other incidents of theft that is not required of the Clery Act. The tax that you are being reported now has to do with crime, tax, as opposed to the California Penal Code.
Just to clarify, can you give me an example of what might be different?
Yeah. For instance, if you go outside of the building right now and somebody ramp you with a car, hit your car, okay, that is an incident that has happened. Under the California Penal Code, that the code is going to report that you had an accident or a collision. Okay, but that is not required under Clery Act. So therefore, why the sheriff, the Peralta police, we have a set of books that takes account of everything under the Penal Code. They're going to selectively take those ones that has to do with specific crime as defined by the Clery Act to be able to report that as what was reported tonight. Okay, hold on. Okay.
Yes, the Clery Act is very specific on the crimes that they're asking for. We have several more arrests made that were off campus. There's trespassing, there's 5150, there's medical assist, such in that nature that don't get reported in the Clery Act. Okay, also, like I said, we have crimes that occur not off campus. So if someone just calls and says, there's a suspicious person on Fallon Street, we contact that person and then he has drugs on board or drugs in his possession, that doesn't fall under the Clery Act, so that gets unreported.
Okay, I think I understand that better. I'll leave it until we do our report from some of the other information that I think recommendations. I will say, though, that there are colleges and districts that have their own websites just on safety. So you don't have to go up to the top and go to the right and find it, but it's right there, and it's very, very clear. And I think that might be something that we might want to consider, which is a website that's just specific on safety.
Thank you.
There's something I wanted to add that I left out in mine, if I can just take a couple more minutes. Although I understand one assault is one too many, I did pull up some stats from other colleges. I pulled up the stats from San Francisco Community College and Chabot College, okay? So these stats are from 2016, unfortunately, for Chabot and SF Community College. They weren't up to date on their 2017. So Laney College reported 3 vehicle thefts for 2017. Merritt had 1. And again, this is from 2016. SF had 45, and Chabot had 12, so well above our numbers. As far as robberies, Laney had 2, as I spoke about earlier. Merritt had 0. SF had 44, and Chabot had 0. As far as assaults, again, Laney had 2, Merritt had 3, SF had 33, and Chabot had 1. So again, although I know 1 is one too many as far as a robbery and assault takes place, our stats are low in comparison to other neighboring cities. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hold on just 1 minute. Trustee Bonilla has a question, if you don't mind, please.
Well, I have a couple of observations, remarks. So one, I really appreciate the report and definitely appreciate the report from the college presidents. And I definitely want to appreciate the numbers and the information that you're bringing forward from the Sheriff's Department and those statistics. But I also cannot help to think about the culture of underreporting. There is no way that in this city and in this county that those numbers reflect true numbers that are happening across our district and across our town. It just doesn't, the numbers just don't jive. And so there's a seriousness, and I think Trustee Weinstein, your point towards accessible information and how do we create opportunities for individuals to follow through on reporting attacks, because I can tell you if I talk to 10 women in a day, 3 or at least half of them have been harassed to some degree or some level from moving from space to space, right? From one meeting to the next, from one classroom to the next, from an office building or from home. So the underreporting is real, and we need to think about this in a much more proactive manner. So I would implore that all of us think about that. What are some of the innovative policies and procedures that we can put in place so that we can encourage and address this, especially in a climate of Me Too movement where underreporting has gone on for decades, if not centuries. So just think about that because it's real, it's impactful, and one of the other things I did not hear, which could also help with underreporting, is how we are handling and caring for those who have been traumatized that we have access to. So this is our student population in our local community. So I really would like to hear, and I know there was some conversation about trauma-informed care that we were doing in partnership, I believe, between Merritt and the district office. I believe VC Sari Brown, we heard several months ago that you were in some process of talking about how we are bringing that type of programming in. So I just think it's really important. Trauma-informed care also allows the opportunity for us to be much more proactive and uncovering attacks and things that folks have gone through that are very, that will fall in line with addressing some of the underreporting. So thank you for that.
Trustee Jordan?
Well, I really appreciate your presentation. I think that you put your best foot forward. I know that I've been to your listening session at Laney College, and also last year there were a lot of surveys that were taken on safety. What I would like to offer is in the future when the portion of the presentation about the different crimes against women, that maybe a woman can be the presenter of that part for for sensitivity around women who may have experienced trauma in the future. And it's not anything against you because you're doing an awesome job, VP, and so thank you, but just a suggestion in the future. That's all.
Oh, Trustee Riley.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carl. I think hopefully we can go back and revisit some of the work we tried 7 years ago around securing our facilities. If we look at all of our facilities, probably excluding Berkeley City, they're all open campuses. And so with that, it's very difficult for our sheriffs and the ABC and our student ambassadors to help secure those facilities. We go to College of Alameda, wide open. Merritt College, wide open. We talked about doing fencing and supporting Laney College years ago, and we caught a lot of flack behind it. But I would hope that we go back and revisit those, because I think that would help our personnel. And we have, millions and hundreds of millions of dollars of property and equipment that we need to secure. And that's not it. I mean, that's besides our staff and our students. And so I'm hoping that we can go back and pull out some of those reports and bring them up to date and see if we can I know it costs money, but I mean, what's money when we got with injury and so anyway, I want to thank you for your support, but again, I hope we can go back and revisit those campuses. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you, college presidents. So the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Trustee Handy, you had wanted to put something to action. 5.1 and 5.2, Trustee Handy is asked to move to action from the agenda, from the consent calendar, so we would need to vote on the modification to the agenda. So we've got
Yes.
that would be a sec. So we've got a yes and a, what was that, affirmative? Can somebody make a motion and second it?
Let's make a motion to remove 5.2 and 5.3.
1, 2 and 1.
5.2.
And do we have a second?
Yes, we do.
My agreeable group is not following Robert's Rules of Order. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. So if we could put up 5.1 and 5.2, and in the meantime, can we have a motion and a second regarding the consent calendar?
I'll move that. Second. I'll move it, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that when Madam Clerk was up. So we have a motion and a second from, I believe, motion from Trustee Riley, second from Trustee Withrow, or was it the other way? Okay.
Yeah,
So then to approve the consent calendar, can we, just. And also 8.4.
And what is it?
8.4 is consider approval of contract with the Chancellor's Office related to the tax offset program, COTOP. 8.4. And we'll move those to the action calendar. So we'll have the motion to, with that friendly amendment, does it stand the motion in a
Yes,
second?
it's
Oh,
fine.
okay, so
It's
that we
fine.
could vote all in favor regarding accepting the consent calendar?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries, so we've approved the consent calendar, and then we will go to the action calendar. And we will begin with item 11.1. Well, the consent is all the way through to 11, unless you want to do those issues first. All right, so we'll start with 11.1. Consider ratification of an agreement between Cabrillo Community College District and Peralta Community College District to receive Regional Strong Workforce Program grant funds in the amount of $320,000.
So moved.
Moved in second.
Handy.
So is there any discussion?
Question.
We'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next item is 11.2, consider ratification of an agreement between Cabrillo Community College District and Peralta Community College District on behalf of College of Alameda to receive Regional Strong Workforce Grant Program funds in the amount of $171,757.
Madam Chair, can we take
Take 'em.
11 point, the rest of the 11s, which
All
are
the-
all strong workforce dollars?
Okay, we'll do all the grants together.
Yes.
So that'll be 11.2 through 11.5.
5.
Right, 11 point, okay.
Isn't that 9? 5?
All right, so shall we do the grants together then? So it's been moved by trustee Withrow and second by trustee Handy. Any discussion? So I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next item then would be 11.6, consider approval of change order to add $484,505 and 0 days to the contract with C. Overa and Co. for the new Center for Liberal Arts Building Project at College of Alameda. Do we have a motion and a second, and then we'll do the discussion? It's been moved and second. Do we have any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla.
Yes, what are we doing? Why do we have a change order for $484,000?
Do we have-
$484,505,000.
Yeah.
Can I get some
Yeah,
an
President Karras
explanation?
will take the item for you.
All right, so I'm happy to give an answer, I think, for this, for change order, because it is a remarkable amount of money. And so when we started the process to build this building, we knew by placing it where we were on campus, there was going to be a lot of infrastructure unknowns, and we didn't want the design-build process to be held up while we kind of figured out our infrastructure on campus. And so at the beginning, we knew electric was going to be a huge issue. And so we held aside knowing in the very beginning that we're going to work with AMP, which is the power on in the city of Alameda, Alameda Municipal Power, that we're going to look at the best ways to have power brought to our campus. And so we looked at different options, and we didn't want to hold a new building for a project that might actually impact many future buildings on campus, because it's going to be a major infrastructure improvement. And we approved that for the however millions of dollars that one is. And then we worked with AMP for the best possible option for our campus. And what they came up with, which we agreed to over time, was to run a line that will run along Apposato. It would be like a big L, and then go up Webster. So it'll tie into our new building, and then possibly in the future to a new science building and some other new buildings. So this one electrical infrastructure will be for multi-buildings. So we didn't want to tie it to one project and then have that project either be stalled because of working with AMP to kind of going in 2 lanes. So it's a change order, but in some ways it was something we knew we were going to do from the very beginning of the project. So I guess that's a nice thing that I've been around since the genesis of the project.
Okay, and I have a clarifying follow-up question. So does this mean that since it was a known issue that we knew we were setting aside, did we set aside dollars?
Yes.
So the change order is not adding dollars on top
Correct.
of
Yeah,
the
so
budget?
the college, from early on, when we scoped the projects, we did that project for the amount for the new building, and then I kept aside, or the college kept aside, at the time there was a different president, but I was vice president at the time, we kept aside $460,000, because we knew probably in the ballpark that would be the range it might cost, and so we just nest egged that away, and now we'll unpark our nest egg and use it to get some electricity.
Thank you for that, but I still, Chancellor, can't imagine that we would be dealing with these type of issues if we were in a P3 design, right?
That is correct. So we'll get there someday.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation.
Sure.
Thank you. I had a question too as to how, it reminded me of the Carol Burnett building with no bathrooms. How do you design with no electrical? But that would be an option, a construction option. So at least I would have called it an option, but I didn't write the contract, so. But in any case, thank you for that. That clears it up. Do we have any more questions or discussions? Oh, okay. So we'll call the question then. So that is item number 11.6. And we will, we've had a motion and a second. We'll call for votes. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, you need a roll call. Okay. I'm going to stop talking.
Trustee Weinstein?
Aye.
Trustee Handy? Trustee Withrow?
Aye.
Trustee Bonilla? Trustee Riley? And Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is 11.7, approval of Resolution 18/19, acceptance of completed work and release of 5% retention to BHM Construction. Actually, I might ask that we do all the retention releases together. Would that be okay with everybody? So that would be 11.7, 11.8, 11.9, 11.10. So do we have a motion to accept the retention release? So it's been moved and second. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor of accepting 11.7, 11.8, 11.9, and 11.10?
Trustee Weinstein? Trustee Handy? Trustee Withrow? Trustee Bonilla?
Yes.
Trustee Riley? And Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
So the next item on the agenda is,
Are we doing advisory votes on this as well?
oh, I am so sorry.
It's fine.
Can we fix that?
So,
Student Trustee Jordan?
Yes to the past too.
Thank you.
Did we capture the consent calendar as well? Okay. All right, so the next item is item 11.11. Consider approval of resolution for a repair contract with Kone Inc. based on a piggyback-compliant U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance contract in the estimated amount of a one-time expense of $209,464.66 for repair of the Laney College Library elevator. It's been moved. And second, any discussion? I think we hear a thank you, Lottie, from Trustee Bonilla. So we'll call the question. We'll have the roll call vote.
Student Trustee Jordan?
Yes.
Trustee Weinstein? Trustee Handy? Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla? Yes. Trustee Riley?
Yes.
And Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Now we are at the action calendar, the last, the 5.1 and 5.2. Shall we take those together, Trustee Handy? Oh, Trustee Handy says no.
No, we can take them together, but then there's discussion on them.
So if we have a motion and a second to discuss them together, then we could. Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to discuss 5.1 and 5.2, or to approve those, and we'll begin the discussion. Trustee Handy.
Okay, I was looking at the travel request that was ratified, that has already taken place, but I found some inconsistencies there that I really needed some clarification on. The first one being an employee program specialist from International Education attending the Japan Expo, USA Expo 2018 Japan, and then it says Korean partner visits. I'm not quite clear if she or he is traveling within Japan, or if it's just one issue. But when you look down at the lodging and incidentals, $100 a day, it seems that they're putting down as per diem, which is never the case within. Per diem is usually with the 65 when we're traveling outside, unless you're in Japan, and it's not clear, it's not that much. And 10 days, which is an exceptionally long time, unless this is the work-related trip for the international program, but that's not clear in this. If it's just a conference, why are we attending 10-day conferences outside of the U.S.? Because, I don't know, when I came in, I was a reform candidate, but we were cutting out international travel. And so I see two of them here, international travel in terms of employees doing international travel and trustees. It's different if it's part of the international program's recruitment, but I'm just trying to understand this because per diem, $3,484. I don't spend that much in per diem for 15 students for my 6 days on my travel. And and then the way the per diem is, it looks like they're connecting lodging and then meals and incidentals. But the other thing, we have the air travel, but then we have $800 for car, taxi, and shuttle. Why would someone be using car taxis? Uber, even in other countries, is not going to come up to $800. Or why would you be renting a car? I move 15 or more students in Uber, and our total bill doesn't come up to more than $200, hopping from then. So I don't see, and I'm seeing this a pattern. This is a pattern on all of these travel vouchers. So that is the one that I really don't understand, but the staggering $6,435 for an employee international trip, unless this was the international program recruitment type of trip, is just, I just think, an abuse of public funds. I just can't see how we could justify this. This is a ratification. It's already happened, so there's nothing we can do about it. But I would have rather had some more explanation on that. The next one wasn't quite as expensive, but it's still not clear to me because it says amount requested as $1,125. It has lodging and taxes there, but then it says written here approved $900 only. So I'm not clear why this person is going to Ghana. It said that she's an adjunct instructor, but it's just not clear why we are sending instructors to Ghana. Trips, educational trips with students is a certain thing, but we have not historically done personal development internationally. It was a scandal when I came into office, and there was an agreement that was done that we would not be doing that type of thing. But I'm seeing it creeping, and I think that there has to be a discussion whether or not this is going to be a policy change or an exception. And so now let's go to the next one. Oh no, did I just lose that? Oh, hold on. Okay, so if we look at the next one, that's the ratification, so there were the two that I had some challenges on. But if we go to the next one, which is 5.2, this one gives me a lot of agita, I have to tell you. This is the one that we have, I'm sorry, is this back to 5.1? Okay, 5.2 is the ratification, right? Okay, so 5.4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees traveling to an online conference in Florida. If it's online, why are they traveling? But it's not that. 2 of them are presenters, but it was just like they did a ditto, and that's like for young people, older people, right? But all of them say the same thing, and so, okay, lodging $307, meals and incidentals. Am I looking at the right one here? Let's see. So when you get here, you're looking at registration, $750. We don't have a control over that. Lodging, taxes, but mileage, $204. What are we doing here? Parking and tolls, $100 at a conference. But each person on the trip has that listed. Now, if you're all traveling together, that would be one cost. Is everybody renting a car? And is everyone paying these other expenses? So what it comes down to, it's $2,000 per person. And okay, I'm back on the wrong sheet again. That's not the one. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. This is the 5.1. Hold on. Okay, here it is. So those figures may not be correct. Okay, we have here, okay, here it is. Lodging, $129 is okay. Meals and incidentals, $59. They're combining it. But then we get down here, we have The registration, $775, lodging and taxes, $108 a night. Travel, that's the same. But car, taxi, and shuttle, $350. This is within the states. And parking and tolls, $100. And this is on all 5 of the reports going to the same conference. How do we explain this? And the other part that I really have a problem with is 2 of them are presenters, okay. But why are the other 3 going, especially since this was something that was put through on a lame duck employee who had nothing to lose. So he signed off on these for this conference in November, but this is over $2,500 per person. And when we had a trip like this for students who wanted to go to something in Florida, we said if it's $10,000 or more, we could bring that person out and train the entire department. So I think this is something that people were looking at to like, oh, who's going to pay attention to this? But there's just no justification. $2,500 for one person. That's for 3 days. My students in Washington, it's $1,500 per person. That's airfare, per diem, everything, and they're there for 6 days. So I think that this is something that needs another eye. This is something that needs someone who's over that department to justify why 5 people will be attending this conference in November, because I think this will come back to us, to bite us, because it really appears to be fast and loose with public funds. And as Trustee Brown always says, we look at this money as if it's our own, because we are taxpayers as well.
Through the Chancellor, was there anyone that would want to respond or provide some clarification or further information on that issue?
I will ask Vice Chancellor Brown to answer to the 5.2.
Yeah, I can address 5.2. The Ghana Kwesi Wilson, this is the first time that I've seen this happen, and as people know, I've been doing study abroad for years. But he asked for support for the study abroad. They took 25 students to Ghana, and he asked support for his costs from the professional development at his college, the College of Alameda. And I wasn't aware of this, and neither was International Affairs aware that he was doing this. And it was his right to do that, you know, to bring it before his committee and for the committee to vote on it. And so that's why the amount is $900, because there's a limit on how much each faculty can request for professional development. And I do have the email stating from the Professional Development Committee chair that they reviewed it and they do believe it's professional development. They supported him. So that was a shared governance decision amongst faculty. For Tokyo, and Seoul, this was a staff member, a classified professional in International doing a recruitment series. And this Education USA, I can show you all kinds of documents around this. They charge really high rates to attend these fairs. And they basically take you around to several locations and have, you know, hundreds and even thousands of students ultimately that you have contact with. And the fee is usually $3,000, $4,000 just for one person to be a part of that opportunity to access students. They have one coming up in Germany that's $5,000 if one person wants to join. $8,000 if it's 2 people. So they do charge a lot for it, and she was recruiting on behalf of International Affairs. But I do appreciate the closer look, because what it looks like to me is that it wasn't filled out properly. Something, because it's like the registration fee, she broke it all up into these different parts. And so I definitely need to do a better due diligence on looking at the form and asking the questions about how they came to those amounts. I think she took the whole fee and just separated it out.
Okay, and then I have a question, is because on these trips, normally when you're moving in those trips, you're moved as a group, and your meals and all of those things are provided as well. But I'm seeing 10 days worth of per diem that comes up to an extremely, a very large amount. It's like, what is that? I'm not pulling it up, I'm on a different page now. But the per diem was at a higher rate, something like $100, and then it was for 10 days. And per diem is not incidentals, but straight out per diem. And so that's something that needs to be clarified, because even if when it's reported, we need to be able to say exactly what is happening. And as for ours, if we are going to a conference and meals are provided, then that per diem is taken out of our base per diem rate. So I just want to make sure that we are clear on this. And international trips, again, as I said, if it's working, it's just that this is not the first one that I've seen pop up. It's been a little insidious thing. So working is a different thing, but if there's going to be employees going internationally, then we're going to have to look at our policies and make some decisions about whether we're going to be doing this or not. That's on the ratification piece. The other, Florida.
Oh, for Florida, I didn't sign off on it, so, but now distance ed is under me, so I can, take responsibility for it. They're actually being awarded for a piece that they wrote and a curriculum that they developed on equity access in distance education. The conference it's about distance ed, it's not an online conference, and so, right, yeah, so 2 are presenting, the rest are going because the whole team is being awarded for what they produced in terms of equity and access. And actually, it's a part of the DE vision that was passed through shared governance here in Peralta this past year, and we're working to implement that vision and that work. So it was a groundbreaking, what they produced, and that's why the decision was made to send the whole team.
Can we explain why each member of the team has $450 for car, taxi, shuttle, and tolls? If you are traveling in a group of 5, a super shuttle, whatever, is $100 for 10 people.
Yeah.
And I just think that these numbers just don't jive.
Yes,
and another thing is if they're traveling in a group, my last question, why is it that when our students are traveling as a group, they're sharing, but here, even though some of the students, they don't share. So it's a very, very expensive piece.
Definitely, and I will, the trip hasn't occurred yet, so we'll reduce this. I'll work with them to look at it and look at the ride sharing and the tolls and all those things that I agree look like they should be questioned.
Hello. I guess I can explain that to a degree, because I was the one that was actually writing up the forms. It was, I guess, more or less a mistake. It's just kind of a copy and paste to each one. Yes, I understand that. But yeah, it was more just like a copy and paste kind of mistake. So I guess that we didn't put one individual for like taking, I guess, responsibility for travel and stuff like that. We just made sure that we had enough funds to cover everybody, and what was going to come back was going to be returned anyway. So, yeah.
And there's funds that come in advance.
Yeah, it has to
so
be
we'll work.
just
Yeah, we'll work to
unjustified.
reduce it and look at this over again.
Yeah, because it looks like there's activities outside of the conference which comes under your incidentals or whatever, but it doesn't come out of car, taxi, and shuttle.
So is there a motion to approve this with the understanding there'd be a further review, or trustee
I'll
Withrow?
modify my motion.
Okay. So,
And I second that.
okay, so the motion has been modified to review this more closely and make some edits and try and pare the cost down, and to approve it with the understanding that that'll be performed. So, is there any further discussion? Then we will call the question. So the roll call vote for items 5.1 and 5.2.
Student trustee Jordan?
Yes.
Trustee Weinstein? Yes. Trustee Handy? Yes. Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla? Yes. Trustee Riley?
Yes.
And Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
The next item, the last item on our consent calendar is 8.4, consider approval of contract with the Chancellor's Office related to the tax offset program, COTOP. And we'll have a motion and a second, and then trustee Weinstein, would you like?
I'll second it.
It's been moved in second. Trustee Weinstein?
Yeah, thank you. Chancellor, I just wanted a little bit more information about this particular, what is it called, COTOP? I'm trying to find out specifically when they collect the money, is it accurate that 25% of it goes to the state or to the chancellor's? Is that correct?
Correct, yes, they keep a percentage of it.
Okay. And second, in terms of what we're collecting from the students, is there anything being added to what they owe?
No,
Are you sure about that?
yeah, I'm sure about that. Yeah.
Okay, because I was reading this kind of a program in one of the other colleges, and they had added 33% to what the student owed. And I just want to make sure that in this, in our process, we're not doing that.
No, not that I'm aware of. I do not believe COTOPs work that way.
Okay, so whatever the student owes, that's what they owe?
That's correct. And it's collected, and then we don't get the full amount, but they don't owe us anymore after that is collected. Now, there are, as I shared with you, there are private entities that one works with, whereby they may do a surcharge, but it depends on the relationship that's established between the college and the provider. To know whether or not they're going to add something to it.
But that's separate than the COTOP
COTOPs,
program?
that's correct.
Is
That's
that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to check.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Trustee Bonilla?
So do I understand that this program uses the Franchise Tax Board to recoup funds?
That is correct, Trustee Bonilla.
So I just have to say that that's a, I completely understand that we need to recoup or somehow find a way to recover these receivables. And this particular piece here is very difficult for me to fully embrace because I can only imagine how devastating it is for someone to file their taxes and believe that they have X amount of money coming to them only for it to be usurped into this vacuum that they probably have no idea why and will frantically try to figure out why this has taken place. And I can just imagine how jolting that can be to an individual or a family who maybe needed that money to pay rent, buy food, pay a car note, and anything else that we have, that they have as a very important economic piece for them. So this is a very difficult piece for me to fully absorb and understand how we all benefit and how this works for students. And I just don't see this as a pathway forward. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I have Trustee Handy and Trustee Jordan.
Just real quickly, students know that they owe the debt, but if they made arrangements, then it would not move to that next step. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So by announcing that this is the procedure that's going to be done, no matter how many years it takes, as long as they're making a payment plan and making some payment, then it's not going to go to that piece.
That is correct.
But if they choose not to act at all, then there's going to be the same consequence at any other agency. You know, you don't pay your bill, you lose your house, whatever. It's going to be a consequence. And so I think that we're giving every option. I mean, we have to do this. We're being told that we have to do this. There's not going to be any sweet way of doing it other than having people come in and make arrangements or whatever, or we're going to have to take whatever action that's necessary. It's not pleasant, but defaulting on our area is not pleasant as well. So I think that it's hard, but we have to find a way to do it, and we notify students as much as possible, and we let them know. But they have to take the responsibility of coming in and making those arrangements, because I know those arrangements could be like $10 a month, but they've got to do something so that we can support them and not having them get caught up in this web. Because I know people are looking for their refunds or whatever, but they have to be preemptive. There's nothing else we could do.
Trustee Jordan.
So I just had a question. I know that we saw at the budget meeting a breakdown of the percentages of students that owe monies to the district. And there was a comment made, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear, that a certain percentage of international students, when they leave, that there are some debt. So how will those monies be recuperated for the district and out-of-state fees? I want maybe 50%, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was like 40 something. But how will that happen? Because I see how we're holding accountable people who can be tracked through the franchise tax board. But what about the other students?
So at, I believe it's either the next meeting or the November meeting, you're going to have a presentation by a vendor that we are considering to go after, to work with out-of-state students as well as international students to recoup the debt. So that's going to come to you next.
I may be wrong, but I recall asking that question when we had the presentation at the board meeting on the 13th. And as I understand it, out-of-state students were the 40%. There was 93% payment for the international students because they pay in advance. Oh. So that, and I also, or the cost from the students that had defaulted, and the auditors told us to write it off. I did some research on our past practices, and we've had COTOP since 2005, right? We've had it.
On and off, we
Right.
have had it.
So this is not the first time. I went back through all the agendas and board meetings and found that we had been doing it before, because I wanted to make sure that balance had not grown from a lack of action to recover the funds. So just some history. This COTOP is not new, and it's the state chancellor's office sponsors it because it's a statewide problem, because we're an open access institution and our students don't have a lot of money, and so there is incidents of default. It's part of, it goes hand in hand with our mission, that if you're open access and you're working with people to provide a way to have a sustainable career and job and lifestyle, that there's going to be some issues with money along the way. Trustee Jordan.
Chair and Chancellor, I don't know if it would be appropriate for me to make I guess a recommendation that until for all students, it is known what the plan will be, that it's not voted on or implemented until there's a plan for all students. We want to make sure that we are being equitable and equal with even monies that are owed to the district. Yes, that's all.
There were on the financial aid page in some of those older times when we used COTOP, there were pages that explained the process, the payment plans and the COTOP process. But we don't have our VC of Finance here. What, Chancellor, do you have a recommendation or response regarding how we would fashion an overall plan? Or?
Well, I think that the plans are already being put together. And I don't know, delaying it will, even if you approve it, we can still delay sending the accounts to the state until the rest of it is in place. So I don't know that it would make that big of a difference. I think the thing that we have to do is to make sure that we notify all students that we are going to start taking those measures so that those who want to come in and have a plan can do so. And I think until we will not turn it over to the state until such a time as we have the communication go out to all the students.
Do you think we could get a timeline? And Trustee Jordan got drafted to help with the overall plan and presentation.
We certainly probably by November we should have already notified all students of what we're going to do, and then I can check on the timeline for the state and report that back to you in October, because there is some advance notice you need to give to the state to the COTAPS folks before they do what they need to do.
Trustee Weinstein?
So I'm just curious, in terms of the amount of people, staff that we have that are reaching out to the students who have not paid for a while, what are we looking at? How much staff are we putting into trying to get this money back?
We have 2 staff members who are, that's not their sole jobs.
That's not their sole.
No, they help students with payment plans. They're in charge of payments and those kinds of things that are going to work with them. But remember, for right now, what we'll do would be electronic communication is what we would do primarily with the students, so that we can get the communication out to them. So that shouldn't take too much time to be able to do that.
So I want to say that it sounds like it's happening anyway, but I'm not comfortable with it. And I, for myself, need to do more research on the pages that you have reviewed already, and also do a little bit of research in terms of how it is working with other colleges. So I'm not ready to accept it.
Now,
Even though it's
probably not the role of the chancellor, but I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that we have a problem.
Yes.
We have a problem that we have to address.
Yes.
People are making comments outside of the board meetings, newspapers, about what we are not doing. And some of these things are not easy. They're really tough things for us to do. And I think that we are moving as humanely possible, as kindly as possible, to support our former students to be able to come to term with the debts that they have. That's also good lessons for them. As I shared with you in a communication, we have been approached by an organization that wants to help us with educating our students, not just about their debts, but about their credit score, which is something that's extremely important. So we are going to do our best in a very comprehensive way. But every meeting we don't act on starting collecting the debts, know that it's going to get harder, and just want to make sure that the board is making the decision on what to do. The staff can only present to you their recommendations in terms of the best way to do it. Just want to make sure that I make the point on behalf of the administration.
Then, in terms of a motion, so Trustee Jordan wants to make sure that there is sufficient notification to students regarding all of the payment options and plans. And the chancellor has said that he will make sure that happens, and it'll happen by November. And I'm willing to work with Trustee Jordan to make sure that whatever we come up with suits you or is sufficiently informative to students. Since you're a student representative, we will tap you for the the quality control. So with that modification, Chancellor, will you accept our help regarding the, how the information is presented to the students?
Oh, absolutely. I think we can always accept help.
So
as-
I'm sorry, that was an amendment? Okay.
Can we draft you two?
Well, no, you can't, well, I've been given some really clear direction on proactive. I am not supporting a regressive item that is counterproductive to students. It's just, I can't do it. So I'm not really, so can we clarify the amendment?
What the amendment is that the COTOP program would be explained to students with the financial aid information and with all of the payment plans and options for payment, so that students would have an opportunity to do payment plans and that are offered already by the colleges, so that they would not be, they wouldn't have to go to or be involved in the COTAP program if they're maintaining their payment plan, which would address our issues with regards to the general fund and the amount of money that we have that is a cost that our auditors have asked us to write down. That's a very long amendment. That's an explanation.
That's okay. I completely understand that. So I also want to clarify, we're talking about students in default to the district who are no longer students, correct?
Or not on a payment plan and not students. Because as I understand it, you can be on a payment plan and you could not be enrolled for a semester and still be on your payment plan. Am I right? Yeah. So you could be on, you start a payment plan, it could be the amount that you could afford, and it could span more than one semester. You could take a semester off, still be on the payment plan, and then come back.
Madam President, I think we want to clarify that because that's not what we believe is happening. I think you have to be current within that semester. Yeah. So, yeah, and so we don't want to mislead you by saying students can make these plans even though they're 3-4 years out. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
We need some clarification on it. Trustee Withrow, while we're trying to figure out the payment plan program.
Well, for clarification on that last appointment, students that have a debt that they're not current on, they can't enroll, can they?
No, they are blocked,
They're blocked
from
from
enrolling. However, they can make provision with the finance department
For a payment plan.
for payment plan.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But I'm not sure what the heartburn is on the, not getting through to me here, the tax offset program, why that would be of concern. I don't.
All of the payments will be completed within the term.
So if you're in default, some people know they're in default and some people don't know they're in default. And that's just reality. Some people know and some people don't. And for some of the population that we're working with who have earned income tax credit, who are low income, who are counting on their income tax return as part of their income to pay rent, food, and other bills. And so if they're not completely tuned into the fact that they have a default of, whatever the amount is, let's say it's $500, it's not going to be $10 because a $10 amount isn't going to set anyone back. So we're really talking about an impact on students who are already vulnerable that could be a tipping point for them on tax returns. And that's just the reality.
So I understand that concern. I think that's why Trustee Jordan was saying there needs to be a notification, but I also understand the fact that there has been a huge amount of discussion regarding the cost this exact cost and its impact on the general fund. And that's why we're here. We're supposed to handle the difficult questions. And so I think that we're going to have to figure out how to meet our obligation to be able to have the general fund have a minimal impact and make sure we notify our students and give them every option to, and all the support we can to pay for the fees. But I think someone has to make the decision. And I think that ends up being us.
But then we're in compliance and the students can do what they.
So so the amendment is to work on a notification process to give students information regarding what payment arrangements are available and what the COTAP program is, and that it happens in the event of a default, and to notify them, even possibly notification before that option is implemented, so that we can help students manage to be aware and plan. And Trustee Jordan and I will work on that together with the chancellor. All right, so calling the question now. Madam Clerk?
Student Trustee Jordan?
No.
Trustee Weinstein?
No.
Trustee Handy?
Yes, we have no choice.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla?
No.
Trustee Riley?
Yes.
And Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
We don't have any more items on the consent agenda. The last thing is the Board of Trustee reports. That even would like to do a report at this point? Oh, I think Trustee Handy. But Trustee Handy says no report. She's going to read the announcements.
The next regular board meeting will be held on October 9th here in the district offices boardroom. A reminder that the foundation will be holding its fundraiser tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. at the Sequoia Country Club. Please go to the Peralta Foundation website to purchase a ticket. Understand this is the money that supports our foundation, and that money goes directly back to our students so that we don't put them in situations where they don't have money when they need it. Madam President, that concludes the announcements for this evening.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.